you doing? This is Dr. Willie Maxwell here, over here with my main man Leonte in the house.
Yes, sir.
In place of the chaplain. We're gonna have a good time today. Today, I'm gonna encourage you all to call in. First of all, so I won't get in trouble with the station because they think y'all listening because nobody calling in. But I know we've been under the Holy Ghost, amen. And so today we're gonna have Dr. Parker on the air. So we want to get you all to call in, especially parents that live in Newport News. Please call in and ask him any questions. He's here now, and we're going to let him introduce himself as well. He's a very, very thorough individual, doing a great job with our schools, and I love partnering with this man of God. In fact, I don't think he a preacher, but he sure preached at my church. I called him in one time to come preach for us because we had a student day, and my goodness, he did such a great job motivating our students and our parents, and he's on the line right now.
Well, good afternoon, Pastor. It's good to be here.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Can you just go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience so they can get to know who you are? I know you're thorough. You don't have to give your whole bio, but if you could just let the people know who you are, what's your leadership style, and what's your goals or vision for Newport News Schools.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Parker. I'm the proud superintendent of Newport News Public Schools. This is my fourth year here in Newport News, serving the students and families of this community. And as you are aware, I came in July of 2018, and 2 of those years have been impacted by COVID-19 and the pandemic, moving into 3, because we started this year under similar circumstances. So I believe I'm serving at the right time, because I feel that I have a passion for students, and I know education changed my life. And I want to make sure that public education works for all students, and that we're always putting our best effort forward. So with that spirit in mind, I always go into service with that at the back of my mind, of making sure how can we make it better for children. And I believe Newport News is doing great work moving forward to recover from this unfortunate circumstances that we've had these past couple of years.
Wow. I know we talking about COVID right now, and I know that's a great challenge, but what are some of the major problems facing Newport News schools today besides COVID? I know COVID with the mental health, because I've seen it a lot in the church. I've seen people more suicidal. I haven't seen any suicides, but I had to counsel those individuals because of the coping skills they have, and because of the overwhelming pressure, them always worrying about, is tomorrow my last day? I've had young people from colleges call me. I've had individuals who are grown. In fact, as a real estate broker, even taking people around the neighborhood to look for homes, because I guess they know I'm a pastor, so no matter what capacity I'm operating in, a lot of people reach out to me and kind of pour their heart out to me. So what are the challenges with the mental health? I'm going to just go ahead and hone in on this question. With the mental health with our students when it comes to the COVID-19.
Well, even before the pandemic, we always knew that we had students in our school division who suffered from what we call ACEs, which are traumatic experiences. Now, it could be the loss of a parent. It could be the incarceration of a parent. It could be a divorce in the home. It could be abuse. But early on, we realized we needed more mental health support in our school division based on the experiences that our children are bringing into the classrooms every day. And what we have to understand in education is the things that we all often see are just symptoms of the reality that students are facing. So when you see high absentee rates, or if you see students that are disconnected or not engaged with school, or getting into fights or bullying, or having other issues such as promiscuity in many cases, many of those things are grounded in some life experience that student may be experiencing. Now, that being said, before the pandemic, we started adding additional clinically licensed social workers, making sure that we had the ability, working with the Community Services Board, to make sure we had more mental health professionals that could touch our children and then, as needed, and create caseloads where they could actually provide direct counseling and mental health support for students in school, so that parents didn't have to travel somewhere, didn't have to set up an appointment somewhere, didn't have to come out of their pocket and pay for it. Because what we were seeing is that many of our issues, we are an urban school division, are due to the traumatic experiences that students may be facing in their own personal lives. Now, fast forward to the pandemic, when students are home for an entire year, year and a half actually, in some cases. If school is mainly the safe place for many of our youth, where they get a warm meal, where they have fellowship with other students, where they have a caring adult who may provide some level of mentorship and see them as an individual outside of their family structure. If school is a safe place for students, take that away and leave them home for a year and a half, where there's not a whole lot of healthy social acclimation, or engagement, where there's not the structure that many of our students need to not only feel safe but also to grow and develop. And you can only imagine when we started this school year, where we were bringing back all of our children. We saw the byproducts of that. We saw students who couldn't conform to traditional schooling.
Wow.
A lot of behavior issues. We're still seeing some behavior issues this year. And this isn't new to just Newport News. I've talked to administrators
Right.
and principals and superintendents all over the state, and they're dealing with the same behavioral issues and challenges that we've seen at the beginning of this year, as we start to get back to some level of normalcy. So, what is different in Newport News is that Newport News started investing in clinically licensed social workers and psychologists prior to the pandemic, as early as 2019. I worked with our staff here, and we put in a plan to have a caseload of 2 clinically licensed social workers per school, one to 2 school ratio. So we've been working on that over the past few years. Our school board has supported that effort, and throughout the pandemic, we were able to provide mental health support to our students during the pandemic, whether it was virtual. They maintained the caseload. Some actually did visit homes, but we remained engaged with our students from a mental health perspective over the course of the pandemic, and I'm very proud of that. That's something that many school divisions did not have the resources to do.
Right. That's so awesome. And I remember when you were looking for people, and thank you for hiring one of my praise team members as one of your counselors. So I remember when you were doing that before the pandemic even hit, when people weren't even looking at it like it was something popular or something that you should have been using in the budget. So I definitely commend you for your forward thinking as a leader. So many times as leaders, we have to make decisions that so many people don't agree with, and so many people that may not have degrees in education and may not have any educational background whatsoever try to tell the superintendent exactly where to go. So I would definitely, my hat goes off to you for your leadership, because I remember when they were resisting what you were doing, and now it looks like definitely a great, I would say, since we on Praise Radio, a great prophetic move in the spirit of what you did. So thank you so much for covering our children at the school. And speaking of mental health, what's going on with the teachers? Because I'm hearing like 60% of the teachers across the nation are leaving it because they're stressed about the mask or no mask, stressed about dealing with the pandemic. How are we able to retain our teachers in Newport News schools?
Well, there was an article a while back by a new reporter. And there were some inaccuracies in that article. And for every purpose, I will not say anything bad about that young lady. She was actually the reporter. If you've heard recently, there was a young lady who was shot in Norfolk on Granby Street, coming out of a restaurant at 2:00 with her friend, and that was prior a few weeks ago. But she was actually our cover reporter for the Virginia Pilot. And Daily Press. But she had pulled some information on an article about teacher turnover from the internet, from our Education Association. They did a survey back in October, and it indicated that I think it indicated as high as 30% of our teachers were planning, 30 to 39% of our teachers were planning to resign at the end of the year, and that was actually the focus of the article. But I went back and looked at that article, at the data, the survey that she pulled, and just keep in mind, we have well over 2,000 teachers in Newport News. So when I pulled that article, it turned out that the Education Foundation did a poll in October. 73 teachers filled out that survey, and out of those 73, roughly around 23 to 24 indicated that they would somewhere around that number said they were considering not returning the following year. So initially it looked like there was a big fire, that we were going to lose almost a third of our teacher workforce. Got the community alarmed, and everyone was saying, well, you have so many teachers resign, and I said, absolutely not. We had 70 people fill out that query in October, and roughly around anywhere between 25 to 30 of them indicated that they were considering maybe not returning. That's not a fire. And as of today, we're still not seeing a significant spike in the number of teachers who are leaving the school division. I believe we've done a very good job of making sure that we've addressed compensation in our school division. Newport News is the highest paying school division on the peninsula. I can't say that on the south side. There's one or two that pay a little more on the south side, but we're competing mainly on the peninsula for the majority of our staff. So we want to, being the largest school division, we need to make sure that our compensation is very competitive, and we have managed to do that over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. With that being said, we also have done some work with our climate, making sure that our staff have access and input into the quality of their schools in areas such as safety, school climate, and student academics. Making sure that our principals are equipped to have conversations with their staff, making sure that they're working to improve the climate and celebrating successes and celebrating with the teachers, and making sure that all of our other employees, not just teachers, but our classified employees, really making sure they have a voice in our organization. So with that being said, I think it is a challenge. And the reason we're putting such an effort towards that is because there are not many replacements out there anymore. We are in the middle of a teacher shortage. We've been in a teacher shortage for the last 5 years. The pandemic did not create that. It just compounded the number of folks exiting the public education, and then also compounding the need for teachers to come in, and there aren't that many out there. So you better treat the ones you have very well, and make sure that you're celebrating them, that you're making sure they feel valued, and you can act. And I can say we can continue to do that all day long. We need to continue to do more of it, because our teachers today are working very hard. Our staff today are working very hard, and they understand the reality of the challenges that we're facing moving out of this pandemic.
Wow. Well, me, I was in it. I was in the educational field for 13 years. It would have been 14, but I took a year off like Jordan did and came back. but I was a special education teacher. Then taught interrelated special education, then became an assistant principal and a principal. And I do not envy you all in this time, because the thing about it is, I'm just going to have to put this out there. It's going to be an unpopular thing, and the phones may start ringing. But, when you have to break up fights and dealing with gang situations, the easiest way to break up a fight is to put them on the ground. I mean, I'm just trying to say it as nice as I can. The only time I hurt myself is because I was trying to hold an individual from getting to someone. And but we had a lot of visitors there for colleges and things of that nature, and I didn't want to, put them down like I should have in order to keep myself safe. And the energy going through your body is a lot when they just keep going and trying to get to that individual person. And it's funny how they act, because really they want you to break the fight up anyway. But that's why they fight in school. A wise student told me that at one of the, I think one of the events you had. I think Chief Drew. And we asked the students, why do they always fight in school? They were like, because we want you to break it up. We don't want to fight to the death. We want somebody to keep us from fighting. But the thing about it is, with all these cameras and all the YouTube videos and things of that nature, it'll always make the teacher look like a villain. In fact, I have an individual who took a gun off of a student in Atlanta, not going to say their name because of what's going on in Fulton County schools, and now they're saying that and the student was aggressive towards him, and he showed a lot of restraint to just put the student on the wall and did nothing else, and they were looking at like his job was threatened. How do you help your teachers, and I know you said the counseling, but I'm just thinking of situations with the security, the SROs, the assistant principals, when they have to break up a fight. How how likely is it that a teacher would get involved and help? Because I'm just glad I'm out of it. I mean, I help you all. I'm on some of your committees, but I definitely do not envy you all in this period of time. And my hat goes off, my hands go up, my praises go up for all of you all who are in there now. And sometimes these students are aggressive, and sometimes the parents seem as though they don't understand that sometimes their kid is aggressive. I know at the end of the day, sometimes it may be the teacher's fault, but a lot of times, parents do know who little Johnny really is, because little Johnny does some of the same things at home. But how do you all cope with that in this day and time?
Well, there's one dynamic that has taken over the last few years, and that's the social media and the internet. Kids bring problems into schools nowadays that are more personal, because they either have been communicating or bullying or being bullied, or harassing someone on social media, or disrespecting someone on social media. So you see a lot of, instead of it being an incident where an altercation occurred in school due to a conversation or somebody joking on someone or picking on someone, you're still seeing an increase in altercations or issues from students communicating on social media. So I would definitely tell any parents out there, just be mindful of that. That if your child is having negative communications or conversations on social media, it might be just a good time to take a break from that whole environment, because sometimes it just doesn't lead to good decisions. But in terms of teachers, I would say the same thing, Pastor. When I was a teacher, I was just like you. If I saw one of my kids who I had a relationship with, who I consider my responsibility, getting into an altercation, I know that child. Many times I will try to intercede and make sure they don't get themselves into trouble or get hurt in an altercation or circumstance. So I will put myself in the middle of that, and I believe many teachers will continue to do that. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't play out well, where kids may not even know. They may not be able to calm themselves down or come under control, and that may lead to sometimes either a teacher may be getting punched or pushed or whatever it may be, until and many kids are not trying to hurt the teacher. Well, we find in many of those kind of situations, they're trying to bring the situation under control, and the kid's just not under control. And that's unfortunate. I think that plays out a lot, and sometimes in public education. I don't believe many educators sign up for that, but I can assure you, many times when they see their child or their student in the middle of something that they shouldn't be in the middle of, they try to get involved or try to break it up or try to maybe verbally break it up.
Right.
If they're not physically getting into the middle of it. But I disagree with you on one thing, Pastor. I mean, I'm an old wrestling coach, so my approach was I brought them up. I didn't bring them down. So usually, if I had to break up a fight, back in my 20s or early back in my 20s, I pick the kid up and we'll walk down the hallway, and I'll put him down when he calms down.
Yeah, I pick them up sometimes, but often they come down.
And most kids don't weigh nothing but about 110 pounds. So I'll pick them up and tell them, listen, you calm down. I'll put you back on your feet. Let's walk it off.
Hey, I understand. That's how we do it sometimes. But sometimes them ain't gonna even act. So you a little thicker than me. At the end of the day, I had football players and gang members, because we at Stone Mountain, man, we had one of the biggest gang problems because we was in a central location. So you had the Crips, the Bloods, the Black Gangster Disciples, the Sir 13. You had all them, and they were emotional when they came in there. So a lot of times we could break it up with my voice because they knew me, but sometimes it just didn't go like that. So I appreciate the way you were able to handle it, but you should have been my mentor back then. We're about to go to break in a second, but I just want to say we have Dr. George Parker on the line, our Newport News school superintendent. He's going to be with us on the 21st of April this month, Thursday at 7 p.m. for our Newport News NAACP meeting. We're going to have in person and Zoom. He will be there to address some of these same concerns, and you can come see him in person and ask him some questions and bring your concerns to him. Again, what I love about this man of God, he's very thorough. He doesn't get offended by any questions you ask, and he will always answer it to the best of his ability and be very thorough. And a lot of times he has individuals from his team that if he can't speak directly to that particular situation, he'll have his team answer those questions because they specialize in certain areas.
You've been listening to the Hour of Power with Dr. Willard Maxwell of the New Beach Grove Baptist Church. We do have to take a quick commercial break, so stick and stay right here on WTJZ Praise.
Hi, this is Raina Joyner, and you're listening to Praise.
As you can already see, Newport News Public Schools is a great place for students to succeed and teachers to thrive. I'm George Parker, the proud superintendent of Newport News Public Schools. For many of us, service to our community took on a whole new meaning, and our school division priorities included providing nutritious meals even on weekends and holidays, and working with our community partners to expand access to child care for families with school-aged children. I can say to you today that long before students returned to in-person instruction, our signs were posted on our schools declaring that heroes work here. Our heroes in the technology department answered the call by providing Chromebooks with Wi-Fi hotspots to students. Our child nutrition staff established meal distribution locations at over 20 locations throughout the city, providing access to healthy meals for thousands of Newport News students. In addition, our transportation, custodial, and support staff accepted the task of preparing our schools and classrooms for the safe return of students and teachers, as well as supporting our child care programs by providing additional adult supervision. Let's give these heroes a virtual clap and acknowledge their dedicated service to our children and our community. We certainly are thankful for the collaboration and support that we received this year.
You're now tuned back into the Hour of Power with Dr. Willard Maxwell of New Beach Grove Baptist Church. Dr. Maxwell, go ahead and take it away for us.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? You listen to the Hour of Power. We just had a good time with Dr. Parker. I'm not sure if my educational chair is going to call back in, but we about to go ahead and switch gears real quick unless he calls in the next 2 seconds because, you know, I got ADHD and I got to get on. Hold on. He called me on my cell phone. Hold on 1 second. Let's see what he wants. Yes, sir. Oh, he hung up. I was going to put him on speakerphone. Let's see if he call in now. But look, listen up. We've been talking to Dr. Parker, and what I'm a strong believer of, the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. You know what that means? That means you need to seek whatever your calling is, and whatever your calling is, that's what you need to seek first. Again, he on the phone now? Well, go ahead, God, man. Look, man, you scared me, man. You know how to answer the phone, man. You got Boost Mobile up in here. He just got Boost Mobile. Let me see. He called me again. Hello? Yeah, you calling my cell phone. Yeah, man. Yeah, go ahead, my dude. Click on the number I text you, and then it'll call into the radio station. Yep. Thank you, sir. Man, anyway, let's go. Calling my phone number. He said, hey, I'm the educational chair. He about to call in. You ready?
And we do have a caller.
All right, there we go. Before we go. That's him. What's up, Doc? Is that him?
Sir, go ahead. You're live on the air.
Yes, okay. Good afternoon. How you doing, Dr. Maxwell?
What's up, sir? How you doing? I wonder why he kept calling me. But yeah, so let us, first of all, Dr. Bullock is a great, great asset to me for the NAACP. He's been instrumental in getting some of the schools' name changed that might have offended some of our ancestors and some of us, and for people of color. He's done so many different things. He works closely with Dr. Parker and his team. Let us know exactly what you do for the NAACP, because you do such a great job and you do so much, and I don't want to start talking about it because I know you can say it far better than me.
Well, as we all know, the NAACP is indeed the longest, oldest civil rights organization in the country. And in the city of Newport News, we certainly have been at the forefront of many things as far as bringing equity into the school system. in working with the school system, we worked with schools, we worked with individuals, we worked with the school boards as well as the administration building in a way to develop different strategies and ways to increase the achievement for all students. One of the things that you just mentioned that came to our focus was the renaming of the schools, as well as looking at achievement, the achievement gap, and that exists at really at all levels, elementary, middle, especially, and the school to prison pipeline. That was certainly a big focus of our studies, and we provide information and forums to parents for them to understand some of the issues. Even when the school system was getting ready to go into the pandemic of the virtual school system about a year ago, we thought it was important for all parents to be able to understand how to access help if they had problems with the computers in the home, and who to call if indeed there was an issue, and how to keep pace with the schedule that was being sent to them. And that we found that to be one of our biggest audiences virtually that we had, and the responses were very, very rewarding as far as what parents thought about the effectiveness. They knew who to call and who to contact with. So we felt very, very good about that. But as we continue to move forward, the system is a growing system, and one of the big changes that came this year was coming back into school. And while we are very fortunate to be a part of offering forums, which we did when we had Congressman Scott and the superintendent to talk about the American Rescue Plan and how funds were used, and and how those plans are what they look like in the schools and how effective they are. So these types of developments we feel very good about, because we again bring this to the parents and allow parents for a chance to talk to real-time people, to get real answers to questions that they may have about their children, a school program or a school policy, so that, again, it will help to demystify and help them to navigate, well, in this case, Newport News Public Schools. So those are just, some of the things that we continue to do, and we were watching the budget, of course. One of the schools that has been the focus of attention for the past couple of years is the rebuilding of Huntington Middle School. The school had gotten to such a condition that they had to close it down because it was just uninhabitable, and the students who would normally go there were changed or reassigned to different schools, and currently they're now housed at the closest middle.
Call us back, caller. All right, you're live on the air. Go ahead.
Okay, to bring back Huntington. So there's just some of the things that we have done, with continued interest in building bridges and working together. Oh. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're live on the air.
Okay, so and that's sort of what we have done, and we're looking forward to continuing to be that presence, be that voice, to advocate for families and students as we see this pandemic continue to change and evolve. Looking at the achievement gap, looking at how things are happening after pandemic and how successful students are. Yes, we are concerned about the violence that we've talked about, and yes, we're concerned about other issues, but we also want to keep our focus on how our kids learning, are they being prepared for the world that they're going to face when they graduate from our school system.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir, and I appreciate all the work you do, for everything you do, and I look forward to seeing you on the 21st with us because this is our first time meeting in person in a while. We'll still have it via Zoom. And if any of those who want to come to the NAACP meeting or who want to attend, it's going to be at New Beach Grove Baptist Church, 361 Beachmont Drive, Newport News, Virginia. And if you don't feel safe coming into the building, you can go to via Zoom, and all you have to do is go to NAACPforum.com, NAACPforum.com.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to say, Doc?
That's do it for me today. I just look forward to seeing people on the 21st.
All right, thank you so much, sir. And again, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. What does that mean? That means seek whatever God told you to do. The thing about it is a lot of time we chase money and we chase things, but we need to begin to chase the things that God wants us to do. Because when you go where your gifts are, when you go where God wants you to go, he'll add all these things unto you. When I came here, as I began to tell you all on the last few weeks, because we was in the giving situation as far as the series we were in, I began to tell you how I just put my real estate on the back burner and I began to do what it was God called me to do, and now God is blessing it tremendously. But Dr. Parker and other people, you don't have to be called to the pulpit. You are called to do whatever God has called you to do. And one thing I do know, Dr. Parker is a great superintendent, and I believe God has handpicked him to be our superintendent here in Newport News. Other people have done great jobs, but he's doing a tremendous job as well. And just like he was talking about, he had already begun to call more counselors in before the pandemic even hit, before we even knew about a pandemic. And that was a great foresight, because at the end of the day, our kids are protected mentally. Our kids are protected from bullying situations, because now it's even more heightened, because now the stress of COVID-19, some kids think they're going to die. Some kids have been more suicidal. And so we want to make sure that we love to have people like Dr. Parker and other teachers and administrators who love the Lord and who are there to make sure that they not only helping them in the natural, but praying for them as well. I know we can't pray in school, but we can pray to ourselves and cover our students as they come into the building.
Right.
Yes,
we
sir.
do have a caller. Dr. Parker, is that you?
No.
Oh, it doesn't matter how you doing. It's good. Somebody love us. How you doing?
Hey, Pastor. This is Joy, one of his members. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Great. This question is for Dr. Parker. Now,
Well,
I
you're going to have to call back in.
I have a child. Hello?
No, go ahead. We listening.
Oh, okay. I have a student that goes to BC Charles, and she was telling me, she was like, Mom, we will be going back to school early for Labor Day. Now, I never received any letters or anything like that, so is that something that in the making, or y'all made a decision on that?
Dr. Parker is not on the line, but I have heard that they're talking about, he's trying to call in. We're trying to get the lines correct. But he did say he was trying to call back in, so maybe he'll call again now. Or maybe I just put him on speakerphone on my phone. Let me see something. We just going to be hood today. Oh, that's him? Because he went straight to voicemail, so it may be. Dr. Parker. Nope. Well, you said the letter said that they were going to start before. Hold on, let me just call him now. Hey, let me see. I'm put you on speakerphone. I don't know what's going on with the radio right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear him?
Keep hanging up on me when I call.
I can hear you.
You can hear him on the microphone. All right, go ahead, Doc. So someone just ask your question again.
Yes, Dr. Parker. I was just asking, will the kids be going as far as 2000, when the school year starts in September? Will they be going before Labor Day? Because that's what my daughter was asking me. And I never received an email or anything. Had y'all made a decision on that, or that's something up in the air?
The school board actually approved the calendar for next school year, which is a pre-Labor Day start. And we will be going the last week of August, which is... that calendar is available on the school division website. So we will be going to school the week of the 29th of August, Monday the 29th. We will have that Friday off, because I think by law you had to have the Friday off before Labor Day. So it'll be a 4-day week, August 29th through September 1st. Will be the first week of school this upcoming school year.
Now, why did y'all make that decision? I mean, the parents didn't have no say-so
all
or
school
anything
divisions
in
on
it?
the peninsula have gone to a pre-Labor Day start. A few years ago, the Virginia, it was an optional requirement. If you had enough snow days or snow cancellations, you could move to a pre-Labor Day start to make up the additional time. But the legislature, General Assembly passed approval, I want to say 2 years ago, that gave school divisions or localities the option to select a pre-Labor Day start. Now, all of the Peninsula school divisions share similar resources like New Horizons, Regional Career Technical Education Center. We share a lot of special education resources, some alternative programs. So with that being said, we try to maintain a consistent schedule amongst the various school divisions on the peninsula. But also, moving to a pre-Labor Day start allows us to better support students who are taking advanced placement courses, which are college-level courses. School divisions that have been traditionally starting pre-Labor Day have had an advantage of an additional week of instruction. Those tests are given in May on the same day all the way across the country. So if a school division starts post-Labor Day and another school division starts pre-Labor Day, that pre-Labor Day school division has their kids who are taking that same advanced placement course has the advantage of having almost a full week of school and they're under their belt before the school B actually starts. There are other advantages, eventually getting to a traditional semester calendar that would end during the holiday. We won't get there this year with 1 week, but there are other advantages to a pre-Labor Day start as well.
Did you hear it?
I do understand that. Now, I want another question. So if you're starting early, will they, on the next calendar year, will they be getting out early?
Absolutely. That was one of the things we were asked to look into, is making sure that we maintain our 990 instructional hours. Don't add a lot of additional hours to that. What we find, and what you probably have found in the past, is that after kids take their SOLs and after they take the seniors go on and finish up early, there's not a lot of value added to the last weeks of school after SOL testing is taking place. I know our teachers try to make sure it's engaging. They may do some field trips. They may do some other activities. But for instructional quality, I think ending a little earlier in the year after the SOL testing and exams are done is the best thing to do, because you really don't have as much instructional quality after we've completed our SOL testing for the year. So allowing us to start pre-Labor Day will allow us to end I think up to a week next year will be up to a week earlier than we have traditionally done in the past. So we have cut that off on the back end.
Right. So to make it clear to everyone, because this is a great question. So basically, Dr. Park, you're saying the main reason we're starting early is to align ourselves up with other systems who you use the same resources for, maybe it's special ed, maybe it's counseling, and make sure you align, because at the end of the year, it gives other school systems an advantage if they're there a week earlier than our students. You want to make sure that you put them in the same competitive platform as the other school systems in our area.
Absolutely right. By starting early, a week earlier, pre-Labor Day, similar to other school divisions, students who are taking advanced placement courses, dual enrollment courses, they're all going to test in May on the same day. That's a national exam. So they all have to give it the same day in May. So school divisions that start early have traditionally had an advantage over our kids, because some as much as 2 weeks of instruction versus our students, because we had a post-Labor Day start. So I think that's another big advantage to it. But most of the divisions on the peninsula have moved to a pre-Labor Day, and we share a lot of the same resources. So it's important that we have calendars that are very consistent.
Welcome back to the Hour of Power with New Beach Road's very own Dr. Willard Maxwell. And I believe we do have Dr. Parker, who's been holding on the line. Dr. Parker, are you there?
Yes, I am.
What's up, sir? Thank you so much for being on the line. This has been a great, great informative time. And so we had some people chiming in on this side. We had Brother Eugene and Brother Daniel over here, and they were saying, man, a lot of the kids are happy because they're getting out of school earlier, but a lot of parents upset because they feel like they're messing up the holiday trip. So what do you say to that?
Well, it's just shifting. It'll still be the same amount of time out, other than this year. This is the one year where some will be cut short just a little bit, a week, because of the pre-Labor Day start. But the following year, it just shifts the summer. The summer starts a little earlier, and it ends a little earlier as well. So you'll get the weeks back. You just have to make adjustments in your future planning to accommodate that. But the kids will be out eventually. They're just losing a week this year to make that transition to a pre-Labor Day start. But it shifts back earlier because they'll be getting out of school earlier to follow, at the end of the year.
Man, I like you. You know why? You a truthful guy, because I would have left that out. Hey, I like your transparency. I would have been like, yeah, y'all. I would have let y'all know it'd be shorter. But yes, so this is the only time your summer will be shorter. Dr. Parker's doing all he can to make sure that we continue to have our students be able to compete in this global economy. So we want to make sure that our students start at the same time as everyone else, so that so the other school systems won't have a competitive advantage over them. Because at the end of the day, if I'm looking at SOL scores and this school is better than that school because you're in Yorktown and you go to Newport News, as a college, we may see that people are pulling on other school systems before ours. So I understand vacation time. So just adjust your vacation trips, because at the end of the day, the first priority is our children, because they are the future that's going to take care of Newport News, Virginia, and the rest of in our nation and the world. And if we aren't responsible in putting their education before holidays and trips, then we're not being responsible adults. So we apologize that your trips may have to shift around, but hey, maybe you'll be able to go to a different part of the country because now you off at a different time. So just count it all joy, because we want to make sure that our kids are adequately educated, so that they may be able to compete in this global society. Now, Dr. Parker, I have to ask a question. In this pandemic, people are saying that because of the mask, is some of the children in elementary school aren't developing as quickly when it comes to language, because a lot of times they can't see the expressions on people's faces. And I understand that we don't have masks anymore, but what have you seen? Have you seen a decline in student achievement because of the pandemic? How far behind are they, or have we caught up and on par with what we need to do when it comes to the standards set by the educational system of SACS?
Well, it's I would probably say masks are probably the least, probably a lesser indicator of any loss of learning over the course of the pandemic. What really has been the caused a lot of loss of learning has been the time away from direct instruction in the classroom. As you're aware, in March of 2020, Governor Northern, the executive order, closed all schools. And we made do with sending asynchronous assignments home for kids to finish up the school year. And we were completely virtual for the majority of the 2021 school year. We did bring some kids back on a hybrid schedule that was optional. So a lot of families chose to stay virtual during last school year. And then this year we started the school year with all fully in person, but we still had remnants of the pandemic because we had students quarantining, teachers quarantining. So we've had breaks of instruction the first semester leading up to January. Breaks of instruction as much as up to 10 days at some points due to COVID quarantine circumstances. So what happens when you're not in the classroom? While you may be able to access some instruction virtually, is not the same as being in the classroom with the teacher, and the teacher being able to give you feedback, keep you on task and engaged, respond appropriately in the classroom, and so forth. Also, from that perspective, it's not the same for younger students who need to acclimate to a school environment, such as learning how to work with others, learning how to, to be in an academic setting, how to control their behavior, stay on task, and be engaged. It's a lot different when you have virtual classes versus in person. So where are we seeing some of the challenges? It's students who came back this school year. We do diagnostic testing at the beginning of the year, and I'm a data person, so I let the numbers tell the story. If you go back to the beginning of fall of 2018, and you look at we have a diagnostic test called the PALS assessment, the Phonemic Awareness Literacy Assessment. The PALS gives us our indicators whether students in early grades are meeting benchmarks in terms of reading. So at the fall, and it's given over the course of the year, so you show growth over time. So a kid is tested in the fall, they're tested in the middle of the year, they're tested at the end of the year. So after the benchmark gets higher over the course of the year. So it might start off a little low at 9, and then it might go up to 10, 12, then it goes up to something else at the end. So the benchmark actually grows and the students have to continue to meet the benchmark. When we compare fall of 2018 to fall of 2021, we had 71% of our students in the fall of 2018 make in grades K through 3 make the meet the fall benchmark. So 71% in 2018 made the fall benchmark. That left 29% of students being under benchmark, which would be our remedial learners. The beginning of this school year, in fall of 2021, only 51% of the students met the fall benchmark, which meant we had 49% of our students which are under benchmark and required remedial support for reading. So we see that right there is the clearest indicator that the time away from being in the classroom has impacted students' ability to read at grade level. And that growth, we're going to have to make that growth up with a lot of hard work. So when you have that many students who require some type of additional remedial support, you're going to have to make up those gains during the course of the school year and years to come. And we still want students to show 1 year worth of growth, but if students are still below grade level and they show a year's worth of growth, they still may finish the year out still below grade level, right? Because the benchmark continues to grow. So with that being said, we know that the challenges for learning loss over the pandemic, and we see some of the similar trends in math as well, are going to continue to live with us for years to come, and we'll have to continue to work very hard to make sure we're providing additional opportunities beyond the classroom for students to catch up, get additional assistance. And this is where I normally would put my plug in for summer learning, for summer school. We have a culture sometimes in Newport News where we've asked, and we started doing this in 2019. In 2019, I switched part of our summer school program to be remedial. It used to be all about enrichment and kids, having activities and enrichment activities and arts and everything else, STEM activities. I want kids to have fun. Don't get that. I don't want to get that wrong. But I saw a lot of kids not reading on grade level. So my first year as superintendent here, I said, okay, we're going to identify the kids who are not on benchmark, and we're going to send invitations to those parents of those students and say, hey, we have a spot in our summer school program for your child to get caught up, to get some remedial support, to make sure that they're ready for the next grade level. And we had a lot of parents take us up on that. But we still had a lot of folks who said, well, do I have to send my child? And I would just say to anyone who's listening on this call right now, if you are contacted and say your child is below benchmark in reading or math, and we have a seat in summer programming for them to get some additional assistance and get caught up after the pandemic, please, and if I need to get on my knees, I will do that. Please send your child to summer school if they're identified, because we're using data to identify where they are academically. And it's only going to compound if they're taking a full summer off and not in some type of program if they're not meeting benchmark.
What?
So we know we have a lot of students who will be identified for summer programming this year. We will communicate with those families and parents.
Praise
while we're inviting the child and we're not mandating it, I would definitely say from that perspective that if you want your child to get caught up, want them to be successful in later grades, send your child to summer school if they're identified.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Parker. That's our time. We thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much. And we will be able to, I'm sure people are going to email us and call us, and then we'll make sure that we're able to get in contact with you and answer any additional question. Again, he will be with us on Thursday the 21st at 7 p.m. at New Beach Grove, our Newport News NAACP branch meeting.